Wait for it, and we're live. Hey, all you crazy sci-fi and fantasy fans. It's time for your daily dose of shenanigans over here at the Blasters and Blades podcast. Just a couple of nerdy veterans and one chaos coordinator geeking out over our science fiction passions and fantastical fantasies. A place where magic is king, the sky is the limit, and space is the place. We are the podcast that puts the fun in dysfunction. So without further ado, we're going to let our guest introduce himself. But first, Nick was originally supposed to be here, co-host Nick Garber, but apparently the Border Patrol decided he needed to qualify driving boats at night. And so he has to go out there and play sailor on the water. So he's basically like the Coast Guard, but less cool. And when he hears this, he's going to send me all the hate, but it's cool. We'll deal. And with that, we're going to let our guest, Mr. Kentucky Squirrel of Alabama fame. Can you introduce yourself to our listeners and viewers at home?
Hi, I go by Kentucky Squirrel online. You can call me Tom if you want to, but I actually don't live in Alabama. I'm in Florida right now. So...
I was joking. No, it's the old joke in the military is that everybody's a nickname, and if they call them Texas, it's like, oh, because they're from Texas. So the running joke is, of course,
that's funny.
They're from insert random state.
That's funny.
And so the next part of the introduction, dear listeners, how we found them. So Tom or Squirrel and I are in a few of the same nerdy spaces together, including our super secret group where we tilt windmills and chase down penguins. It's just something we do. I hear they make good steaks, so one day we'll catch them. Am I the only one who looks at all these strange animals you read about in fiction and wonder if they'd make a good steak?
You're not the only one. I have thought the same thing.
Like, I'm convinced unicorn steak would be delicious.
Have you seen the PETA ads where it's like, why would you eat a chicken? Would you eat a dinosaur? Heck yeah, I would eat a dinosaur.
Well, my favorite is the one that where they're like, would you strip the kids? You tear apart families, and their answer is, that's why when I go to KFC, I get the family bucket.
Get the family bucket. No, that's good.
When I was in high school, we had a girl that was super rabid PETA fan, and I'm like, yeah, dude, I like steak and chicken and all the good meats. Mm-hmm. And so I made a shirt that said I was for Pet P, people for the ethical treatment of plants because they have feelings too. And I tried to make that a thing, but our principal's like, yeah, we're not approving that as a club, JR. I'm like, well,
that's discrimination,
right? All we were going to do is have we'd call it keto, I guess, today, right? The all meat, carnivore diet is what they call it these days. I'm like, all we're going to do is get together with the grill and we're going to cook meat.
Exactly.
So maybe we burn a wing or two down on the building, right? You got extras.
Sure. It's worth it.
Totally. All right, so how do you take your steak since we're talking food?
I used to do well done, but then I had a couple of good ones that were, I think they call it medium well, where it's just a little pink in the middle. And after I had it cooked like that, that's pretty much the way I do it now. And plus, if the pinker it is, the less chance I have of choking on it. So that's how I'll take it.
Okay, I like mine medium well. So I like pink in the middle.
Yeah,
but not too much.
No, not too much. I don't want it bleeding.
Yeah, I don't want it bleeding, but I don't want it like leather either.
No, definitely not. Yeah, but that's how I choked the first time.
I don't tend to get steaks out at restaurants, not just because of the cost, but because I find, generally speaking, I can do a better job at home.
Yes.
And the other thing I've noticed is we've got a local butcher at the farmer's market that does like fresh cuts as opposed to like frozen store stuff. Yeah. And I found the fresh cuts from the local butcher way better than the frozen stuff. Not that the frozen stuff is necessarily bad, but there's something that the freshness adds to it.
Oh yeah.
Maybe it's because you can still hear the cow mooing in the background. I don't know.
No, there's a local market here where I go to get bacon, and it's you go get it and it's not cured or anything. It's basically just the fresh cut butchered bacon. It's the best bacon I've ever had. Yeah,
I've seen my favorite though is I see all the time because there's been an outbreak of wild boars. Like, so you've got people whose job is literally they fly in helicopters and they shoot because they got to thin the herd because given modernity they don't have a lot of the natural predators around that would do that. Right. And I just keep thinking when you see these occasional videos where they're like a hog as big as the the tractor towing it, and I'm just thinking all the bacon you could get from that.
Oh, I know.
And they just throw it away. Like, they just destroy it.
I know, those things are honking huge, man.
Right? It just seems criminal to waste that bacon.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if boar meat is actually edible or not. I assume so, because they used to hunt it back in the day for food.
I think so, but you probably have to make sure you cook it real good, because ain't no telling what they ate.
Yeah, I know. I mean, there's a couple of famous nobility from back in the day, like, Days of Sword and Shield, where they died hunting wild boar.
Oh, so
presumably they weren't risking life and limb just to kill the thing. They were going to eat it.
Yep.
I mean, there are plenty of other stupid things you can risk your life on.
Oh, yeah.
So, all right. So since you've listened to the show, you know how this goes. We do have to ask you the religion question, and there are potentially wrong answers. So are you ready for this?
Hit me.
All right. Star Wars, Star Trek, or Firefly?
Okay, so back in the day, I would have said Star Trek. I used to be a big Trekkie growing up. Big time original series fan and Next Generation fan. But I haven't done Trek in a long time. I never saw Enterprise. But I would actually say my favorite sci-fi show, TV, whatever, is the original Battlestar Galactica.
Okay. I've watched the remake. I've watched some of the offshoots. I have not watched the original. I bought it. I think we've talked about this on the show before, but I bought the box set, and it didn't break it up by episodes. So it was literally just like 8 DVDs where it was just hours at a time, like all one after another with no break, which is great until you realize you need like a spreadsheet to track where you are. Whereas if you watch an episode at a time, it's easy to be like, okay, I'll watch one episode and then I'll get back with whatever I got to do. Yep. When it's like the hour DVDs, it's like a week later, and you haven't eaten and you haven't slept, and it's just that's not good for your health. So I need to rebuy that one.
Well, you say the remake. The thing is, there's only one Battlestar Galactica. Whatever that show that came after it was is not Battlestar Galactica. That's just a dark, edgy show. So they just happen to have a lot of the same names.
Fair. I enjoyed it, but I enjoyed the episodes I have seen of the original series as well. They're both products of their time. So the original was cheesy and campy. There's room for that in the market. The remake was a little bit more gritty, and a little bit more soap opera-y.
There's an essay that Dirk Benedict, the guy that played the original Starbuck, he wrote an essay. I think he was mostly just ticked that they didn't recast him as Starbuck in the new show. And he wrote a piece called Starbuck Lost in Castration and posted it online. It's really hard to find now. He scrubbed it from his website, but you can still find it some places. So you should look it up. It's called Starbuck Lost in Castration. It's actually a pretty good piece. He talks about a lot of the differences between the shows. You can tell he's mad, but he says he brings out some interesting points. So
I found somebody who hosted it because he brought it down. So I will link that. The issue, or not issue, one of the things that's odd about that then is that he was did all of the promotional videos where the lady that played the new Starbucks sat in a Starbucks.
I think that's the reason why he eventually scrubbed it from his site, is because he started doing the promo stuff with her.
So I've used that as an
I could be wrong, but
it fits. When there's money involved, morals sometimes go out the window. So normally when you do the race and gender swap just to check a box, I don't like it. It's lazy writing. It generally adds nothing to the story, other than you can say you're edgy. The way they did it so Starbucks' character was just the every frat boy in the original show, and they were just frat bros with the Adama brothers. And like I said, there's room for that. I don't have a problem with that. I watched Chips growing up, right? The California Highway Patrol, although spandex wasn't their friend.
Yeah.
But so this one where they did the backstory for Starbuck, where she was the lover, girlfriend of the dead Adama brother and his pilot instructor who passed him so he could make daddy happy, even though he wasn't good and didn't want to be a pilot. And then because she passed him when he wasn't ready, he died. Like, that added depth to the character that wasn't there. So in that way, it actually kind of worked.
Yeah, I agree. It does add a layer of complexity that the original show did not have. Well, they did that with all the characters. I mean, like, I've only seen just barely any of the new show, but like just clips pretty much. But I can tell that they added depth to almost all the characters, and because in the original show they were just kind of like characterizations almost.
Yeah, but the original audience was looking for different things, I think, than modern audiences. Yeah. I think audiences evolve.
They do.
I think the reboot, the second version, if you will, it added layers of eroticism to certain plot arcs that I don't think really needed there. Like, I get sex sells, but sometimes you can overdo it.
Yeah.
And if my infantry brothers could hear me say that now, they would disown me, but whatever. I just think salacious for the sake of being salacious is just not, it's not needed.
It's not, yeah.
And I'm looking at it now as a father who wants to be able to enjoy these things with my kids, and I'm like, I'm not watching that smut with my kids. That's just weird.
Yep.
So I appreciate you could be subtle about it. You can fade to black. That doesn't bother me. And
sure.
The kids are old enough. If they're old enough to watch that, they're old enough to understand fade to black. But like, just to be so blatant about everything, it just feels pandery in a way that's just not cool.
Mm-hmm.
So. But again, I like I said, I thought that was an example of changing the character, be it race or gender, that served the plot and made it, in some respects, more complex. And so I use that as an example of how you can do it right.
Right. Yeah, it comes across better rather than, oh, this is just our token diversity character. This is something that makes sense.
And if you're skilled at writing and you're not just trying to check boxes, the diversity comes across in the characters having different opinions, different backstories, and sometimes that means different race and ethnicity and gender.
Sure.
But it doesn't have to. Like, the differences come from the backstories, and I think sometimes just making it surface level feels lazy.
Yes.
But rather than beat that dead horse, we're going to move on because horses don't make good steaks. And I'm going to ask you, allegedly,
Eastern Europeans eat them in soup, though. So,
really?
Oh yeah, I knew a guy in college that he grew up in Ukraine, and he I hope I can say that word on here. He ate a soup, and I can't, for the life of me, I can't remember what it was called, but it was actually horse stew. They made it from horse meat. Of course, being from Kentucky, growing up around horses, that was the sickest thing I've ever heard. But like, you don't eat horses, but they did. It's a delicacy over there, apparently.
Interesting. I don't know that I'd want to try that, and I've tried a lot of weird foods, but
I don't think I'd want to eat horse. No.
All right. Well, not unless I'm like starving. I mean, if it's that or going full Donner Party, I'm going to take the horse. But
yes. Mm-hmm.
All right. Since we're polytheistic here at the Blasters and Blades podcast, the Game of Thrones, Wheel of Time, or Chronicles of Narnia?
Okay. So I've never read or watched Game of Thrones. I've never had the desire to. Wheel of Time, I've read the first 5 books. I cannot get past book 5, no matter how hard I try. But I've never actually read Narnia. So I'm actually going to go with Wheel of Time on this one. Even though it's not my favorite fantasy. My favorite fantasy is Lord of the Rings. And I've read bukus of Tolkien, like bukus of material outside of Lord of the Rings. I have a whole shelf of hardcover editions of all of Tolkien's books. But of the 3 you've mentioned, I'm going to go with Wheel of Time. Just because I've read the most of it, and I did like what I read.
Okay. We used to ask Tolkien was one of the original OGs for the religion question, but it's really hard to do that when everybody picks that, and you kind of want to mix it up. So by giving the other ones that we did, it allowed people to think outside the box, because if they didn't like those, they could suggest something.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So, and the other reason is, like, our audience comes at this from their readers of the books, listeners of the audiobooks, watchers of the TV shows, readers of the comics and anime and manga. And so we try to pick properties for the religion questions that are in multiple venues so we can meet the listener where they're at. But obviously, like some people that don't, go to those other mediums, they might only read then their book choice, like Shannara Chronicles, up until recently didn't have anything but the book. So if you pick that, people that don't read aren't gonna know it.
That's true.
Although I did enjoy the one season we got of the Shannara Chronicles. It was good. Sadly, they canceled it.
I never watched it. I've read a few of the Shannara books. Like I've read. I really like the Genesis of Shannara, the prequel trilogy.
Right.
It's really good because it's like post-apocalyptic Earth, showing how it turns into that world. It was really good, but I've read a few of the other ones. They're okay.
I read the Elf Stones, and for a while when I was a young boy, there wasn't a day that went by that when I walked, I didn't look at the ground hoping to find my own.
Nice.
So I mean, I really dug those. That was one of my favorite authors growing up. So yeah, I get you. I like the universe. The books were, because I didn't read the Genesis trilogy. I'm gonna have to go see if the library has it.
They're really good.
So I missed that it was a post-apoc. I just thought, it's just a fantasy world until I watched the TV show and you saw that aircraft carrier laying on its side, which was stunning visuals. And I'm like, this wasn't post-apoc. And then I went back and reread. Well, crap, I missed it.
Yeah,
because I was so enthralled by the magic that everything else was kind of secondary at the time I read it. So
yeah.
All right. So one of the crying shames of getting older and growing up is that people stop asking you the important questions. So we are, thanks to our sponsors, bringing that back. And I'm going to ask you, what is your favorite dinosaur, sir?
Velociraptor.
Okay.
And I mean the real ones, not the ones in Jurassic Park, but like the little 3-foot tall ones. So.
Yeah, the Jurassic Park one was what, the Utah Raptor, if memory serves?
Yeah, it was either a Utah Raptor or Deinonychus. I'm thinking Utah because of how just big it was.
Well, see, the thing that they get a pass on all of that is they specified that they did gene splicing to bring it back to life. So while it might look like a T-Rex, it's not truly a T-Rex kind of thing, which is how you got the hybrid dinosaurs they built in later seasons.
Yep.
So they get wiggle room, right? Like
they get some
unreliable narrator variety from a plot point.
Yep.
So are you going to watch the reboot the next edition in the series that's coming out?
I don't know. I'm like, it took me forever to watch the Jurassic World trilogy.
I enjoyed all of it. I even watched Camp Cretaceous with the kids, which is contemporary to the Jurassic World.
Okay.
My kids were older when we watched it because there is one of the plot lines. I feel like it was a cartoon. You aim at a younger audience, but the plot line felt a little too mature.
Okay.
It had a LGBT romance, which I don't necessarily care about, but I don't want to explain to my young kid. I'd rather make that an age-appropriate conversation,
right?
Which I know some parents care about. Like we try to be non-judgmental, but factual on our reviews in that respect, so they know what they're getting into and they can make their own moral decisions on what's right and what's wrong. But that also, it kind of felt unnecessary. But otherwise, the idea that there was a camp that was going on contemporary to Jurassic World, and that these random group of kids were there to be the test crew that then got forgotten about was kind of a cool backstory, because you could see parts that overlapped with the main story that had already been made at that point. I really dug it. I thought it was a neat idea.
It is a cool idea.
So
I think I remember hearing about it, but is it on one of the streaming services?
Yeah, it's on Disney Plus.
Is it on? Oh, okay.
And I know a lot of people canceled Disney Plus after some of their scandals. So it might have been the time where all the shenanigans were happening. But the new Jurassic Park is visiting. So in the past, it was like, oh, look, another entrepreneur wants to build another Jurassic Park, totally going to be different this time.
Yeah.
This one was, by the trailer, they're going back to the original test site where all of the research was done before they opened the island. So it's not repeating the same issues. Although if it's truly an issue, I don't know why you just don't glass it from orbit. Like, and problem solved. Nobody lives there. You don't have to worry about cancer. It just drops in napalm.
Trigger nuke it.
Exactly. Like you solve the problem that way, because by later series, like the Camp Cretaceous ends and there's a follow-on series about what happens when the kids get home and they've
Yeah.
aged them up to like young adults. So it's cartoon, but it's young adult. In the same way the Star Trek cartoons, the Rebels and what was it, the Commando, Clone Wars, and all those.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
those were cartoons, but they were geared to a slightly older audience.
Yeah.
I think this one does too. I haven't watched it just because it was releasing an episode at a time and I didn't have time to wait. So maybe someday I'll get back to it. But like they've already made it to the mainland at this point, so it's kind of too late. But I would think you'd want to start eliminating them from threatening humanity.
Yeah.
Because a T-Rex rampaging through your city could do some damage before you bring it down, and then just
Yeah.
the wind when you bring it down could knock over small buildings.
Well, and honestly, your greater damage is going to be from your herbivorous dinosaurs. I mean, anybody that watches animal patterns like that, your plant eaters are more dangerous oftentimes than your meat eaters because they're bigger and they're stupider. They get scared, they get skittish, and they. I mean, could you imagine a stampeding herd of stegosaurs?
Right, and then the other part of that is they eat so much that they could strip our arable land. And we do one source cropping, farming. Like our agriculture infrastructure couldn't support that because it's so precise. We gave ourselves almost no wiggle room.
Yep.
As far as that goes, so it could do a lot of ecological damage really easily.
Oh yeah.
So maybe someone will write that book someday, since Michael Crichton can't anymore. But all right, since we are civilized human beings here at the Blasters and Blades podcast, we are no longer knuckle dragging troglodytes. So I'm going to ask you, sir, coffee or tea, and how do you take it?
Tea and sweet, because I'm from the South.
It needs to be sweet enough that Wilford Brimley comes back from the grave to slap you in the face and says, "Diabetes."
Well, considering most of my family has diabetes, probably so. But no, I have never been able to take to coffee. I can't even stand the smell of it.
What?
Nope.
How are you working for WarGate Books if you don't like coffee?
I know I'm the outlier. I think at my regular job, one of the other guys there, he literally subsists on coffee. I'll see him go through like 10 cups of coffee a day, like 10 K cups. It's like,
now is he adding like a lot of cream and sugar to it, or is he just drinking
nope.
black?
Just drinks a straight black.
So that's the issue, is if you like it with a lot of cream and sugar, and I do, that's how I drink my coffee. Not great for you, so you got to make adjustments, which limits how much you can have. I'll drink it black if in a pinch, but the only thing I won't do coffee-wise is instant.
Oh no, ugh. I don't do anything instant, man. Ugh.
I have been enjoying this summer. I started making sun tea. I don't really add any sugar to it.
Yeah,
and that's been okay. I mean, it's not my favorite, but it's better than straight unsweet, cooked on the stove with a percolator or the in the water.
There is no worse feeling in the world than thinking you're about to get, like, you go to a restaurant or something and you think you're about to get sweet tea and it's unsweet and you drink it. Oh
yeah, and the ones that will bring you the sugar packets, like you can add it. Like no. Science is why you add it while it's hot. It bonds to the molecules. When you add it when it's cold, it just gets gritty and sinks to the bottom of the cup.
Yep.
And if you use the artificial sugars, like I'm sure those aren't great for your liver.
I am not doing aspartame, man. I'm not doing it.
I mean, I'll drink Diet Coke, which has the fake stuff in it. I don't necessarily mind it. I just am not stupid enough to think it's good for me.
Mm-hmm.
Which, some people will.
Well, I mean, you're talking sodas, you're talking regular soda and diet soda. It's the difference between high fructose corn syrup and Splenda. Neither one is good for you. It's like
right.
It's not Mexican Coke, it's.
Oh yeah, that's the one with real sugar, right?
Yeah, it tastes good too.
And it comes out of the bottle.
Yep, glass bottle.
I'll have to see if I can get some to try it. I don't think I've had it. I mean, I kind of know what it is vaguely, but I don't think I've ever tried it.
Do you have? I don't know where you're at. Do you have Publix?
We do.
Okay, check there. They usually have the glass Coke at least sometimes during the year.
I'll have to check that out. Yeah, I don't mind. I find regular Coke though is a little too sweet for me.
Yes.
So that's why I switched the diet. So I wonder if Mexican Coke would be too sweet.
I don't think so. It doesn't taste like when my wife and we tried it for the first time. It didn't taste as, I don't know how to say it. It didn't taste as syrupy
Yeah.
as, like regular Coke. It had a sweetness to it, but it had more of like it still had that bite of like the soda. And so I didn't think it was overpowering. I thought it was way better.
I'll have to give it a shot, and then we'll report back to you, dear listener. So, okay, with the religion questions out of the way, before we start talking about your role as the coolness ambassador for WarGate Books, a lot of people like to read things. A lot of people like to watch the movies and read the books and do the audiobooks, whatever. They don't make it past the consuming it solo to joining fan communities. So what made you take that step from I like all the nerdy things to I want to congregate with other people that like nerdy things?
Probably a lot of it was where I grew up. Not a whole lot of people like to read. And if they did, like it was like just the old ladies at church.
Right.
And so they weren't reading sci-fi. They weren't reading pulp detective, books and stuff like that, comic books. They weren't reading that stuff. And so, I come to college and I start meeting some fellow nerds and that like some of the same books I do. And then when I graduated and I started getting online, that I started discovering indie sci-fi. And I was like, oh, these books are, these books look like they kick butt. So I want to try these books. And then from there, I'm starting to find like these online communities, like the Galaxy's Edge Discord server, and I'm finding the different communities on Twitter, now X, and I haven't been on Facebook in forever, but I know there's groups on Facebook. And so, you want to meet you don't meet these people in real life. Your average person is not a sci-fi nerd. Your average person is not they're not someone who just binges these 1,000-page books. At least in my experience, they're not. And so I wanted to find people that had similar interests so we could chat and talk about this stuff.
Okay, that's fair. What surprised you when you started talking to other people that like those kinds of books?
I think what surprised me the most, and one thing I like talking to people about the books that I like, is sometimes they come at the book or the franchise from a totally different angle than what I did or than what you did. And okay, so not to get off on a rabbit trail, but way back when we were talking about Battlestar and the changes between the old and the new, your first thing you mentioned was Katie Sackhoff playing the new Starbuck. My first thing that I think of when I think of the new Battlestar is I don't think about her. What I think is they changed Commander Ty. In the original show, he was a black man. And in the new show, they turned him into a bald white guy. And so you see these different things and different things stick out to you. And so it makes it fun. It makes it like, oh, I didn't catch that about this book. I'm going to go back and reread it. Or, oh, I didn't think about that. That makes me like it even more. And so that's the thing. I like discussing the books. I like talking about them. And unfortunately, most of the people I know in real life aren't into the same indie franchises that I'm into yet. I'm trying to change that. But trying one person. I have met one person, though. That was cool.
So one of the things that I've noticed is I assume that people that like some of the hardcore sci-fi, military science fiction, and now military fantasy series that are out there would be other veterans. I'm surprised at how many, I don't want to say normies because that's kind of insulting, but how many people that didn't serve enjoy those stories, because I kind of figured the target audience would be, veterans. Not that there isn't a decent sized veteran population in the audience, but it still surprises me when you see people that for various reasons didn't serve, or from even other nations where military is different than it is for the US, and how excited they get for the military stories is kind of, it shouldn't surprise me, but it did in the beginning.
Yeah, I think I've said this before. I've never served in the military, and I come from a family that did. My cousin, he's about 10, 12 years older than me. He was in Iraq back in like maybe 03. It was like right after we sent troops into Iraq.
That was 03.
And it was 03. Okay. He was in the reserves, and he got sent over there for one tour. And so, I have family. My great uncle was a KIA in World War II. And so, I've got this history in my family, and I never thought I'd be like, I liked action movies and I liked action books, like the old 80s, all the 80s stuff. Like I like Predator and Terminator and Soldier and stuff like that. And, but I never really thought I would get into reading it. But that I was thinking about this the other day. That's pretty much all I read anymore is Mill SF. And it's just got a pull. I think it's because most Mill SF deals with heroes.
Yeah.
And it deals with sacrifice, and that's what a lot of people want nowadays. We're sick of lectures, and we're sick of political correctness and all that crap. We just want good old-fashioned stories again of men and women doing the hard things. And even if you don't win, you still gave it your best. And I think that just resonates with people. Even if you never, I could be totally wrong, but even if you never served, I think it resonates with people. Because most people, even if they haven't served, they still want to be that person. They want to be that person who can try their best and who can try to make that change. I don't know. I've just been thinking about this the last few days.
Okay. Yeah, that's a surprised me too. I think the heroes, you're right. They appeal to people in the same reason like Gilgamesh and
yeah,
the classic heroes adventures do.
Yeah, but it's still human. It's not like Gilgamesh and the fact that Gilgamesh is a demigod. Nobody feels like they can relate to Gilgamesh. But we can relate to going to Galaxy's Edge. We can probably relate to Chun or to Masters. Maybe not. Hopefully, not everybody can relate to Masters, but we can relate to these guys because at the end of the day, they're still regular guys. They're not superhumans.
Yeah. The problem. Yes and no. So yes, they were relatable characters. When you read them in fiction, generally speaking, they are not demigods. The flip side of that is everybody loves to write the special forces guys, the tip of the spear, because it's exciting. And I get that, like no shade there.
Yeah.
But what you find is most of those guys, if you read them, or excuse me, if you watch them for real, they practice so much that they're well-oiled machines, and everything they do is almost muscle memory. So what you end up with is you don't get as much characterization in the action scenes. You'd get that in the banter in the ready room before.
Right.
And so for me, I relate more to the everyman. So that's why I liked, obviously I wrote The Reservist. That's why I like those kind of stories. I like reading about the militia more than the special forces. Because to me, that's like, that's your neighbor who, rose to greatness because the situation was forced on him. Sure. To me, that speaks to me more, but I get why people like the other because it's just the badass factor.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd like the badass that I could envision myself as, and I realize I'm not like a PT god that could be like the fractional percent of the fractional percent of the fractional percent of badasses, right? Like that's just not me.
Right.
I am not a super special squirrel.
None of us are going to be Tyrus Rex. That's just none of us will be. One of my favorite characters in Galaxy's Edge. It's from the Contracts and Terminations book, Madame Guillotine. It's the girl Marine sniper. I think her name is Amanda. She's such a cool character because she's not that, tier 1 operator. She's a Marine, So she is. I mean, she is good. She's better than the most of them out there. But she's not a Legionnaire. She's not Special Forces. And you still see her like go above and beyond and do the hard things. And it's just like she's one of the coolest characters in the books, and she's only in the one book.
Yeah, I like I said, I like the Everyman, but that is why certain characters spoke to people more. Like, do another one, babe. Drawing a blank on character's
Wild
name.
Man.
Wild Man, yeah, like he was just an Everyman too, who was kind of forced to it.
Yeah.
And to me, he spoke more to me than like the super secret squirrels, right? Like to me, and that's a personal preference, right? Like I get that.
No, I completely I agree with you a lot on that. These are Wild Man. Yeah, he's especially him. I mean, this is a man who is haunted by his past. He's haunted by the fact that he couldn't save his wife, and he couldn't save his home, and he's following the guy who authorized the blowing up of his home. It's kind of a little messed up, but it's to get back at the savages, and it's to he's getting revenge for his wife. I mean, what man or woman at their deepest doesn't think what would I do if my family got taken away from me, if I lost them. And I think it speaks to that.
Yeah, I think
maybe I'm thinking into it too deeply. Maybe it's just kick butt action, but
I mean that has value too. I just, like I said, for me, the Everyman speaks more to me than, and I think that's why when you go back to it, people like the draft stories, like the average guy forced into service, conscripted or whatever. It's why we like the World War II story, because those weren't necessarily professional soldiers. They were, a year ago, they were a farmer or a tradesman or whatever.
Sure.
As opposed to, I mean, like reading about the Marine Raiders stuff when they, did the prison break was great, but for me, just the average man who landed on Iwo Jima was more compelling. But again, that's a personal preference. So
but you're raising a really valid point though. It is.
Well, this is
go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was my uncle who was in World War II. He wasn't any. He was a PFC in I think the 38th Regiment, Company B. He landed on day 2 of the storming of Normandy, and he was just a normal soldier. He fought through the bulge and everything like that. But I think he came out of the war with a Purple Heart and a Bronze Star.
Yeah, my grandfather got those too as well. He went from he landed on Utah and then made it all the way to St. Lo, where he was wounded and sent back, and that's where he met my grandma. Love at first stitch, I guess.
First stitch.
I don't know. That's where they met. She was a nurse at the field hospital, and
cool.
A lifetime of love was built, and like 12 babies, because they didn't have hobbies back then.
Yeah, right.
Well, I guess they did have hobbies. That was their hobby.
That was the hobby. Yeah.
That's where you get that joke that was popular around the COVID times. Like, what did our grandparents do in a world without the internet? I don't know. Let me go ask my 12 brothers and sisters.
Yeah, right.
So, all right. Well, this is the part, dear listener. We're going to pause for a moment while we shamelessly show for the man, and then we are going to come back and talk about the topic that brought us here.
They promised him 1 weekend a month. The House of Reason swore the Ninth would never leave their gentle homeworld. But after Kublar, things changed for Sergeant Fetch and the Caledonian Reserve Legion Corps. Thrown into a meat grinder conflict in a desperate bid to hold the line, it doesn't matter whether you're reserve or active, only that you kill and survive. A searing tale of combat and honor at any price from a wounded veteran of the war in Iraq who fought to keep the MSRs open from Mosul to Tikrit. The Reservist, an Order of the Centurion Galaxy's Edge standalone novel.
All right. Thank you for sticking with us through that commercial interlude. I figured since we were here to talk about WarGate Books and the universe that the Emperors created, it would be appropriate to use the only commercial I had for one of their products.
It works. That's the
So,
order. The Reservist is the only WarGate book I have on CD.
oh,
So,
nice. How
yep.
did you get it on CD? I didn't know that was an option.
I found it on Amazon. It was one of the last ones left. I found it on sale for like $6,
That is
and
awesome.
it's not like one of the MP3 ones. It's got like 5 or 6 discs in it. But
Cool.
yeah, I have it. It's sitting in my WarGate, what I call my WarGate shelf. I have a whole bookcase, and all it is WarGate, Mill SF titles, and some of the other guys that hang out with them online.
I
But
didn't even know that was an option. I feel cheated. I'd have bought my own.
if it ever comes back up, I'll send you a link. If I ever see
Please do.
someone selling it, yes.
Please do. I know for a while they sold. I thought it was just an MP4 or MP3 download. I didn't realize they were selling actual proper CDs. Interesting.
It seems like an inconsistent thing. I've seen like random Galaxy's Edge titles on physical disc, but most of them are not. And it kind of bugs me that I can't buy them on physical disc, because I like having the audiobooks. I listen to them on drives, but I want to have it in that physical format, because what if Amazon pulls one of their crapshoots and suddenly, oh, your title's not available anymore.
Yeah. Oh, this is the part I forgot to do. Where I thank you for sticking with us through that commercial interlude. But now we're back to talking about WarGate Books. So, now that I welcomed you back, $1 late and a day short, or whatever the saying is, I will say that because I was curious, I checked it out to see if the physical property was still around. In that it is not. But right now, for whatever reason, they have WarGate. They have the Reservist on sale for $3.99. So you can buy the $1.99 audio pairing. So you can get the ebook and the audiobook for $5.98 if that's something.
Cool.
As of now. And since we're airing this episode tomorrow, as a favor to my boss, because when your boss says do this, you do this. It'll still be around. I don't see it going away tomorrow.
I hope not.
Yeah, so no, I mean the sale is $3.99.
Oh yeah.
$4.99, and then the audiobook is normally like $7.98 add-on.
Yeah.
Normally do it. But they've got a sale running periodically, and this is just one of the times they're doing it. So if that's something you want, dear listener, you can get it for $5.98, get the ebook and the audiobook. But okay, so when you contacted me, one of the things you wanted to do is talk about some of the changes that WarGate Books has coming out with what you're calling the founder subscription, which is what is on the screen, is what they're calling this program. So first off, what is your official role with WarGate? And then, let's talk about what brought us here.
Okay, so I didn't think about doing this, but I seem to have set myself on a path to, if not be the number one fan of Galaxy's Edge and WarGate Books, to at least be the loudest one. I shill for them shamelessly on social media. And it's because I like the GE books that much. It's the most fun sci-fi franchise of books I've read in years, and so I want other people to like them. And I've literally bought copies of books just to give them away to people that I know in person. Just like, I want you to read these books so bad. Just read the books. But so Jason contacted me a little while ago and asked me if I wanted to actually start working for WarGate, doing what I've already been doing. But just, maybe doing it officially now. And he said him and Nick, they were looking for someone to kind of do this. And so Jason said, well, Kentucky Squirrel's already doing it, so let's just ask him. So Jason has been teasing a new subscription model for probably about the last year or so. Last year, he started dropping hints that the old Insider program would be going away. And different reasons for this. I think he said the biggest reason is just because the old subscription platform, it's not stable enough anymore. It's too old. It's hard to keep it updated. It's hard to keep it maintained. And so they're not scrapping it necessarily, but they're opening up a brand new model. And so if you're already an insider, you can get grandfathered into the new subscription. So you're not going to have to worry about losing everything. They're just going to transfer it all over to the new thing, to the new platform. The founder subscription is gonna be set up slightly differently though. Like I said, we're still ironing out some of the different perks, and the concrete launch date has not been set yet. But when I say soon, I mean very soon. Like hopefully within the month. But like I said, that's the new launch page hasn't been launched yet, so don't hold me to that. It's gonna the biggest thing with this is that you remember in the old insider program, it was all, the biggest perk was that you got ebooks early.
Right.
Since they haven't been able to, I mean, they've been pretty good about it, but they're not able to hit an ebook every single month. Because Nick and Jason, they're not releasing books as frequently as they used to, because they're doing all the publishing stuff too. And so one thing this new program is going to do is, if a new ebook isn't coming out that month, you're going to get something in its place. So you're going to get like a special newsletter or discount codes or something like that. So you will be getting something each month. And I don't think they're going to be having an annual membership anymore. It's just going to be monthly. So you can just sign up for a recurring monthly subscription, but you will be getting something every single month. So you're not going to go any month without getting something. You're going to get an ebook, or you're going to get a newsletter, or you're going to get something else. And so they're really trying to ramp up, catering to the fans and making sure that the fans get what their money is worth.
Okay.
There's some other cool stuff that's coming out too. I'm not sure. Like, I know Jason has teased like cool things like metal bookmarks. So that's something that could also be part of it. But we're really just kind of trying to drive attention to the fact that something new is coming. And we want people looking at that. We want people watching the spaces where WarGate is at, because when it drops, we want it to be big.
Okay. Are you focusing still on so when Nick Cole's Strange Company 3 came out, it was originally supposed to be going to Amazon like normal. I mean, It would go everywhere else too, but and for whatever reason, shenanigans in the back end, it didn't get published there, and then they pulled the pre-order, which meant it canceled all the sales for everyone who'd already, that was the reminder as I hit the pre-order button. For a lot of people, when they buy the one book, if they like it, they pre-order as they pop up, so they don't have to remember, it just appears in their Kindle.
Right.
And so when you cancel that, you cancel the reminder, which has an adverse effect on sales for people that count on the memory or the reminder being, you just paid for this and it's in your Kindle now when you get the email. Yep. So he did a release that they hyped up and they sold direct via, I think BookFunnel is what they use. Yeah. But I could be wrong. But they sold direct and they ended up doing better. And so at the time that came out, there was talk that they wanted to focus more on direct sales. Is that still part of the plan?
Yes, as far as I know. I'm not sure. I don't know what all the release plan is, like how they're going to be rolling all of that out. But I know Nick has talked about that. I know Jason has talked about that they're trying to become more and more independent of Amazon. And I think the founder subscription, they're hoping to work toward that. Getting more people to sign up for that, because you'll get the early access. And with the founder subscription, the reason for the change is it's not just Galaxy's Edge, it's every title by Jason and Nick. So you get Nick comes out with Strange Company Book 4, it's going to be part of it. Jason comes out. I don't know about how Jason with all of his books with Jay and Chaney. I don't know how that works out, but if it's a WarGate book and it's got one of their names on it, it's going to be part of the subscription.
I can't imagine Chaney, with the way he runs his business model, is going to be releasing anything.
Probably not. Yeah.
Early. That would probably be because each publishing contract is going to have its own thing,
Yeah. But any WarGate title that's got Jason and Nick's name on it, it's going to be part of the subscription. And they are hoping to open it up to other authors in WarGate as well. Like Jason talked about, maybe having different levels, like you could add on each month. Like if you find out there's a new book coming out by Blaine Pardo or Sibley or someone like that, and you want to add it on, maybe that's an option. Like I said, some of this stuff is still in the works, but that's also something we're talking about, is getting more people to be directly involved in the WarGate store directly, not going through Amazon, not going through other sites.
Okay. So as of now, it's just the Jason and Nick stuff that they publish outside of, contracts with other publishers, because obviously that's a different ballgame.
Right.
Potentially the other authors like Peter Nealon and Blaine Pardo and the others that are writing under the WarGate banner would be included. Do they have an idea when this will all be finalized? Because I realize when you're talking intellectual property, there's also legalities involved, so lots of I's to be dotted and T's to be crossed just to cover your butt.
As far as working with the other authors, no, that's still future.
So one of the things people don't realize, and they get mad at some of these companies for doing the takedown orders for certain copyright that seems rather benign and not necessarily costing the author, but the way the laws are written is if you have an IP and you don't intellectual property that you don't defend vigorously, they can argue that you've abandoned the IP, and thus people can do whatever the hell they want. And so sometimes kind of the law as it stands forces them to be indiscriminately jerks in ways that they might prefer not to. But that also applies to contracts for what and when you can share, which is why I'm not surprised that it's taking them a while to get the lawyers to iron everything out.
Yeah, they've been working on this for at least a year, and that's why they're still focusing on. I mean, honestly, I think this too. That's why they're focusing on Jason and Nick stuff, because they don't have the issues with that. They own those, and so.
What about merch? Because that was one of the things they used to do. Is they were doing merch for a while. It was seasonal or rotating, and it was only available. But then they had some of them that were so popular they ended up bringing them back. I know some people felt like, well, I bought it because it was exclusive, and now it's not. So I know that's a tricky thing to walk, because when the customers want something, it's your job as a service provider is to give them what they want, right? Like it's how you run a business. You give your people what they want. So it's a tricky road to balance. How are they handling merch going forward? Is that going to be discounted? Like I think under the insider subscription, you got 10% off when you bought.
There won't be an automatic discount anymore. The last time Jason and I talked about this, there won't be a discount, just because of the way the new platform and storefront is set up, I think. But there is going to be exclusive merch that's, I think, that only available to subscribers.
So there's merch that you can only get if you're a subscriber, but you don't necessarily get a discount. Your subscription gets access.
Yeah. Like I said, he's still working all that out, how it's going to be handled. But it's the way he's trying to go about it is a set. Like if you want this month's items, you have to be set up as a subscriber by a certain date. Otherwise, you're not going to get that month's items.
So what kind of merch are we talking about?
Only thing I know of so far is I know for a fact we're going to get cool metal bookmarks that are go with the different books or go with the subscription service itself. Of course, there will be stickers and stuff like that. One of the cool things he's coming out with is with the ebooks, you're not just going to get an email with the ebook code, like to BookFunnel. You'll get a cool physical card in the mail, and that card will be what has your ebook access. It'll be almost like a collector's card, and it'll have your ebook access, and you can share it with one other person. So it'll be a way to build advertise for it.
Okay. So at one point in time there was talks about doing something like the loot box type subscription model where every month you could sign up and you get themed stuff. Is that something they're still pursuing, or is this in lieu of that? Are they
I
doing
think
this-
that is something Jason is still thinking about. Yes, that he's still looking at.
Okay.
I've chatted with him about that a while ago, and he is still, because their last mystery crate thing they did last year was a massive success. I mean, they had to order more stuff because they ran out of stuff. So I think he's still interested in doing that, but I don't have anything new yet.
Okay. Are they still doing the coffee that they were doing for a while with Galaxy's Edge? For a while, they had a branded coffee that they were still doing. Are they still keeping that up, or is that gone by the wayside?
That's gone by the wayside. Yeah. I asked Walt about that, and I haven't heard anything new.
Okay.
Like, you can't even find it on the website anymore.
Okay. So you got to find your own coffee, sourced locally, or buy some coffee brand coffee
Sourced
and support the show. So the founder subscription, what are the price points? Have they decided that yet?
It's at this point, it's still going to be the $15 a month, like the insider subscription is.
Yeah, are they going to be tiered or no?
There will be the possibility. They're thinking about doing add-ons, so like you can level up your subscription to get other stuff, but the baseline price will be the $15.
Okay. Is there anything else? Because obviously, like, while it's still up in the air, there's only so much you can say. Is there anything we haven't talked about with the new subscription that they're doing that got you?
If you have any ideas of things you would like to see in the subscription, we can't, like, I'm trying to collect people's ideas as well. So hit me up on X, and obviously if we're mutuals, you can DM me, but hit me up on X and let me know if there's anything you would like to see in the subscription. You can't do everything because they still have to maintain a profit margin, but Jason is interested in what the readers want. And so if you have any kind of suggestions, hit me up.
Okay. And there's also the Galaxy's Edge Discord, which is out there if you want to join the community. There's one for the Forgotten Ruin. Separate from that, is that any point in the future they're going to be a Discord and they just combine it under the WarGate, or will it be a separate one potentially?
As far as I know, the two Discord servers are completely fan run. Jason, I think he's a mod, but I don't think he owns I don't think they're owned by the publishing company.
They started that way, and I think you're right. They are fan run now. But WarGate, I just wondered, because that's the new actual publishing imprint as opposed to the brand series name, if they were going to have one. Because some publishing companies do. They'll make their own specific Discord with channels for their various authors or series or whatever. So is that something that's on the works, or you don't know?
No, as far as I know, it's not.
Okay. I know they also have the subscription model with their Substack, which because of the tier they're on with Substack, it's just the WarGate Books. I'll link to it in the show notes as their website. But with that, they also had a feature for a while, at least, where you could chat directly through Substack. I'm still learning it, so I don't know if that's still there. But that's another way where you can communicate with everybody is through the Substack, because the website allows comments.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I'll link to your Substack so they can harass you there too.
Do it.
So, okay. Is there anything you're excited about that's coming out from WarGate Books in the near future?
Yes, some of it I can't talk about. But yes, I'm excited about the new subscription. I'm excited about the new Wreck Jumpers books that are coming out. The ones with I think it's Mac. I think the character's name is Mac Baines. It's the one that's spinning out of Walt's Order of the Centurion book.
The Call Sign
Valkyrie. Whole new series spinning out of that called Wreck Jumpers.
I need to read that one. I got the audiobook and I just couldn't. The voice of the narrator, I couldn't do it. I don't know how much of that is my hearing issues. Tinnitus will make sometimes listening a pain. So there are some narrators that I know other people love that I just can't do.
This is going to make me a heretic. I can't stand Bray.
Really?
I cannot stand listening to him because his voice is just it's too much the same.
I think he's fine. I don't get the overhype in that. I like Luke Daniels just as much. He does a lot of. He did some work, some Galaxy Edge stuff, but he also does a lot. Like he does the Ember Wars universe that Richard.
Yeah.
There's plenty of narrators that I like, as long as you don't sound robotic and bore me.
Yeah.
And you're consistent with your accents. I could pretty much go with anyone. I'm not that picky.
My favorite Galaxy's Edge narrator is Ray Porter.
The one that's I like him too. He's good as well. The one that gets me is sometimes they'll get British narrators instead of lieutenant. They say lieutenant.
Oh goodness!
Just because of the cultural accent. And there was a fantasy series I was listening that did that, and it jarred my nerves every time I heard it. And I'm sure the Brits feel the same in reverse, right? Like lieutenant, you're pronouncing it wrong, idiots, right? Like I get it goes both ways.
Yep.
But that's all personal preference. But I ended up buying an Android tablet because reading on my phone, like it's the Kindle ebook, the memory on those, like they keep increasing what it takes to run the software in that. So it's forced obsolescence, essentially what it is. And so I couldn't keep very many of my books on there. And it got frustrating. So I went out and bought a tablet that I can just upload the Kindle app instead of having to carry an actual e-reader, and it's bigger enough that like it doesn't strain my eyes, so I'm able to get in some actual print reading time as well.
Nice.
So it's one of those things where I can work on the words or of my own or read other people's unless I can magnify it. So I want to go back to it because I like Walt. Generally speaking, I've liked some of his other stuff. I've read several of his short stories. I can't remember the name of the series, but he did one with Athon where it was like a robot dog on the cover, and I'm drawing a blank on the name of it.
Oh, the Hunter's Moon trilogy. That is that's like one of my favorite sci-fi trilogies.
I enjoyed that one.
Yeah,
but I like dogs, so a robot dog worked for me.
Oh yeah, Fluff is awesome. It's like, I keep trying to bug him to write more, and it's like I think he's just too busy.
Yeah, so I mean, like, I know I like his work, so that's why I'm saying I know I need to go back to it because it's narrators aren't for everybody. People have preferences, and that's totally valid.
Sure.
So the cool thing though, there's a couple narrators, like the guy that narrated The Reservist. He's actually also narrated. He narrated the Forgotten Hero, I think is what is it? I'm gonna Google it real quick. The narrator has done some stuff by our my TBI brain is a thing. Like I'll remember things and then it just skips mine. Christian Rummel is the author's name or the narrator's name. The Lost Fleet series. There we go.
Yeah.
And I watched that. I listened to that one from start to finish at one point because by the time I found it, when I found it, like it was already done, right? Like the series was out. But as he was writing it, sometimes because it was traditionally published, there was like a year between books.
Yeah.
And so when I found it, I could just listen from book 1 to book, I think it was 8 when the series ended. And you could just hear the narrator get better throughout the series, which was kind of cool because, like this is him from a baby narrator to fully fledged professional. But I really liked Christian Rummel's take on and watching him grow. And you can do that with some narrators too. I'm totally willing to try new ones. So there's lots of cool talent out there, and I realize it's all personal preference, and there's no wrong answer there as long as you're reading.
Yep.
So you're excited about some stuff you can't talk about. All right. So WarGate is more than Jason and Nick. So if you took them off the list, what is your favorite series that WarGate has done so far? And obviously you like All Your Children equally, but if you had to pick one to save in a hurricane, right? Like which one is it going to be?
Probably Land and Sea. Blaine Pardo. I like his take on the mechs and his take on the aquatic based alien invaders. Those are cool.
Okay. And he writes mech like nobody's business.
Oh, the dude's insane. He's a phenomenal writer.
So Nick has been hinting that WarGate is buying a property that we all might know to start publishing. Have they released what that is yet?
Not yet. And I've bugged him about it, and all he'll do is soon. It's like the suspense is killing everybody.
Okay.
All
right. So
I know BattleTech is something people have guessed.
I don't think they would sell BattleTech.
I don't think so either. I've heard a few people say BattleTech, and I'm like, I don't think Catalyst or whoever owns BattleTech or whoever licenses it, I don't think they're giving up that license. But I don't know what franchise is open though.
Me either. Maybe it's something even older where it's more like public domain, almost kind of old, and they're bringing it back. I honestly don't know.
It could be. And he hasn't given any indication like what genre it falls in. Like, is it like detective? Is it action? I mean, because any of these things the WarGate readers would like. You know, it's like, is it like 80s style action, or is it sci-fi? What is it? No hints, nothing.
Yeah.
But no, there's big stuff happening behind the scenes.
I'd be curious what it is, so I guess we'll just have to wait.
There is big. I mean, just the things they've hinted at, there is big stuff happening behind the scenes, and they just, unfortunately, we can't hear. We all have to wait until it gets released.
All right. So if people wanted to follow WarGate Books, where might they do that? And as usual, dear listener, we will link to all of that in the show notes.
Best place to do it is on the WarGate Substack, wargate.com, or on X at WarGate Books. Those are the two best places to follow them.
Okay. And I will link all that in the show notes. And if they want to find you, obviously we'll link to your Twitter. It's really easy to follow. It's just literally Kentucky KY Squirrel _90. Link is in the show notes. And we link to your Substack as well. So if they want to hear your random musings, you might get so many followers, you actually have to write things there, though.
I don't know what I would do if that happened.
Right. This is the part, dear listener, where I remind you to please be kind and speak your minds on the reviewing platforms. Your reviews help the right readers find the right books. It really does make a difference. And especially when you're talking small presses and indie authors, it makes a huge difference on the algorithms. So do your part. It really does help. And with that, you can find us on our Linktree, linktr.ee, Linktree / Blasters and Blades Podcast. Again, Linktree / Blasters and Blades Podcast, where we link to all the things, the bits, shoots, and rumbles, the YouTube, the TikTok, the Twitters, our Spotify, our Discord, our Blasters and Blades Facebook group and Facebook page, our email, blastersandbladespodcast@gmail.com. Again, blastersandbladespodcast@gmail.com for professional purposes only, people. Save the shenanigans from Adam Stabby Stab on the Instagram, Twitter, and the email. You can support the show by going to buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Again, buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Be sure to put in the comment section that it's for the podcast. And I promise I will keep my co-hosts duly caffeinated. They will drink that coffee brand coffee till it pours out of their eyeballs and we swim away on a river of Java goodness. And if you want some of that coffee brand coffee, link is in the show notes. Use the code PODCASTGRUNTS. You get 10% off. We get a little bit of a kickback. It's a win-win. And even better, you're shopping local because that's an American company where they buy the beans and roast them here, hiring American workers and helping your local economy. And that's worth its weight in gold, people, because those people are paid fair living wages, and that matters for some. And shopping local is my soapbox. So I will climb off of it and say, thank you for spending some of your precious time with us. For my crazy co-hosts, I am J.R. Handley. This was the Blasters and Blades Podcast. We'll be back next week at the same time, where we'll indulge our love of nerd culture, cheesy jokes, and all things that go boom. Thanks for coming on, Tom. This was a lot of fun. And report back when we know more. And maybe we get you on a couple panels where we just talk nerdy about all the things.
That would be awesome.
All right. With that, I will say thank you, dear listener. And I will hit the end button. Don't cuss yet, Wade.